For more on this, we're going to bring on political commentator Dr. Ori Goldberg. Dr. Goldberg, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, do you see this ceasefire as a victory, and if so, for who?
I don't know if I can see it as a victory, but if I'd have to choose, I'd have to say it was a victory for Hamas. Israel is reaching the ceasefire without having achieved any of its declared goals for the war that has lasted 15 months, and with having carried out what I think most of the world considers to be a genocide. So again, I think both sides lost. Gaza is decimated. Hamas has brought its people unprecedented destruction and death, and Israel is only now starting to pay the costs and has spent the past 15 months doing nothing but wreaking havoc. So I have to say it's on point, and it goes to Hamas.
What would a better agreement have looked like in your view?
I don't know if a better agreement could have been achieved. Again, the state of reality, the state in the field is horrendous. The destruction in Gaza is really unbelievable, and the humanitarian needs are hard to fathom. And Israel finds itself in a pickle because it has overextended its forces and it hasn't actually achieved anything. So I think with the state of things as they are, this deal is probably as good as both sides might have hoped it to be.
So I know you don't see this as a victory per se, but either way, a ceasefire, if things go according to plan, will take place, at least for now. So who deserves the credit, at least, for that getting done? Donald Trump's return to the White House obviously undeniably played a role, but is this deal his to claim?
No, I actually think that this was a decision that was made by Prime Minister Netanyahu, even though incoming President Trump certainly played a role. Hamas has been steadfast about its position throughout the entire 15 months, and the deal that has been accepted is the deal that Hamas had agreed to at least 6 or 8 months ago. Netanyahu made the decision. He made the decision as a political decision. I think it behooves him to accept the deal now because he understands two things. One is that Israel has absolutely nowhere else to go, and its condition is beginning to deteriorate both externally and internally. But also, I think he understands that there's been a subtle shift in Israeli public opinion over the past several weeks, and I think the majority of Israelis who might be his future voters are tired of the war and want it to end.
What do you think is to prevent Binyamin Netanyahu from continuing with the war once he has someone who is friendly to him in the White House in the form of Donald Trump, and once the hostages are released?
I don't think Donald Trump supports the war. I don't think Donald Trump supports wars generally. Wars are not what he feels he was elected to do. He was elected to make deals, and I don't see him committing to a forever war led by Israel. And again, the second thing is that the war is gradually, slowly, subtly, but in pronounced fashion, becoming bad politically. The war is now a cause that's espoused by the hard religious right in Israel, the settlers, Smotrich and Ben-Gvir. The majority of Israelis, again, not because they don't support Israel's genocidal campaign, but because they feel the campaign has failed. The majority of Israelis want the war to end. Netanyahu sees this. He understands that if he is seen as the leader who not only fought the necessary war, but was also capable of making the difficult decision and ending it, he stands a good chance of winning what is likely to be an election that takes place in Israel over the past coming months. So Netanyahu has no reason to go on with the war. He needs to make it look as difficult as possible, but ultimately his personal and I think also national considerations are such that the war is not good for him.
So as a last question for you, sir, you kind of hinted at some of it in this question, but I'd like to know then what you think what is in store for Binyamin Netanyahu's government in the short to mid-term, and is there really any alternative at this point, any realistic alternative to Binyamin Netanyahu in Israel right now?
Oh, there's a very realistic alternative, and this is actually what I think stands a good chance of happening. I think a deal will go through. I think the second phase, scheduled for 6 weeks from now, will also go through. Once this happens, Ben-Gvir will resign. In 6 weeks, Smotrich will resign. Netanyahu will need the backing of his parliamentary opposition to continue to stay in power. their condition will be that he calls an election as quickly as possible. That is 3 to 5 months from 6 weeks from now. And once that happens, Netanyahu, I think, will wager that he stands a good chance of winning that election. So if I'm looking at his political future, that's what I'm seeing, a minority government, an election, and him as very much a viable candidate.
Dr. Ori Goldberg, thank you very much for your analysis.
Thank you.